You won't believe over 95% of students who sat for this UTME question failed it. Now let's see how to go about it. Now looking at this question, it says if x base 10 equals 23 base 5, find the value of x. Now what I want you to understand is any value that is already in base 10 is just a natural value and it can simply be written as ordinary x. So x base 10 is still the same thing as ordinary x. So which means we don't need to do any conversion right there. But of course, we can say that this other one is having base 5, right? And of course, we need to convert the base 5 to base 10 so that both of them will be having equal bases. So this is already in base 10, so we have to convert this other one to base 10 as well. Let's get started. So at this point, we already mentioned that x base 10 is the same thing as ordinary x, right? So which is equals to, so this other number right here, 23 base 5, is what we want to do. So 23 base 5 means you write 2, you write 3, and then you want to multiply this by the base, which is 5, and multiply this by the base as well. Put the powers from the smallest to the highest, so the power. And then to avoid confusion, let's add brackets, and then we add this up. At this point, we now need to be very careful. 5 raised to power 1 is 5, just one time. So any number raised to power 1 is still that same number. So we have this to be 2 times 5, which is still equal to x, then plus 3 times. Any number raised to power 0 is always 1. Keep that in mind. Any number raised to power 0 is 1, and any number raised to power 1 is that same number. So at this point, we have 2 times 5, and you agree with me that is 10, right? So we have 10, and the next value is 3 times 1, which is 3. So the total of this is going to be 13. And of course, you will agree with me that this answer is option D. Let's see if you are faster than me. The question says, what is the equivalent of 4104 base 3 in octal? Now you have to be very careful in this case. At this point, you are having base 3, right? And then you are having octal. So what you want to do is you want to convert from base 3 to base 10 before you now later convert that to base 8. So at this point, you have to be very, very careful. So now let's see this question now. So we're having 4104 base 3, which has to be converted to base 10. And for you to convert any other bases to base 10, just figure out this number, write them out first. So we have 4104. Then multiply each number by this base, which is right there for you. So multiply that by 3, by 3, by 3, by 3. So you now want to put your powers from the last value right here. 0, 1, 2, 3. So to avoid confusion, you put your brackets, and you also include your plus in between, brackets and your plus, brackets and your plus. So at this point now, we have to be very, very careful. Now this part means, this 3 power 3 simply means 3 times 3 times 3, and that is 27, right? So in this case, we now need to write 4 times 27, then plus, now 3 raised to power 2, which is right here, simply means 3 times 3, which is 9, so we have 1 times 9, then plus 3 raised to power 1, any number raised to power 1 is still that same number, which is 0 times 3. 0 times 3 plus, and any number raised to power 0 is always 1. So that is 4 times 1. So at this point, we need to multiply that. So 4 times 27 is giving us 108. And 1 times 9 is 9. 0 times 3 is 0. 4 times 1 is 4. So let's add all this number up, and that would give us our value in base 10. So we're having 121 base 10, which is still ordinary 121. So this number is what we want to convert to base 8. So all you have to do is you divide through by that 8, 121. So let's check out how many 8 can we see in 121. How many 8 can we see in 121, and how much will be the remainder? So we are having that to appear 15 times, and that will remain 1. So let's go for 8 again. How many 8s do we see in 15? And that's just 1 time, remaining 7, right? So again, how many 8s do we have in 1? So we continue the process until we can say impossible. So how many 8 do we have in 1? That's impossible, and that's 0, remainder 1. So let's quickly check if we are doing the right thing. So 0 times 8, that's 0, then plus 1 will give you 1, right? So again, 8 times 1 is 8, then plus 7 will give you 15, right? So we also have 8 times 15 rather, which is 120, then plus 1 will give you 121. So that means we are very correct. And what you want to do now is you take the number upward, take it upward. So your value is from the bottom to the top, we have 171 base 8. And that is just as easy as that. So let's check our results for that. Let's see our results. So 171 base 8 is right here on the screen, and that is option B. Do you believe only few persons understand this question? Let's see. The question says convert 241 base in base 5 to base 8. So let's write that out. 241 in base 5, then we want to change that to base 8. But of course, you should understand that we cannot directly convert this to base 8. We have to change from this base 5 to a base 10 number, and from this base 10 number we can then figure out the base 8 value. So now, which means that we want to change this 241 base 5 to base 10. And how do we go about that? First of all, write 2, 4, and then 1. So the base right there, as you can see, is 5. So we multiply through by 5, multiply through by 5, and multiply through by 5. So you put the powers right, 0, power 1, and power 2. So close the bracket and add your plus. So this is a very nice way to go about it. With this, we now have 5 raised to power 2, and 5 raised to power 2 simply means 5 in 2 places and multiply them together, which is 5 times 5, and that is 25, right? So now we simply write 2 times 25 plus 4. 5 raised to power 1 is still the same value, which is 5. So any number raised to power 1 is still that same value, so 4 times 5. Then we have 1 times 5 raised to power 0. Just keep this in mind, any number raised to power 0 is 1, so that's 1. We need to add this 2 times 5. 2 times 25 is 50, plus 4 times 5, 20, plus 1 times 1, 1. And the total of this is 71. But don't forget, we have just converted this to base 10. And this can still be written as ordinary 71. So we now need to convert this to base 8. And converting that to base 8 means we divide through by 8. So 71 dividing through by 8. So figure out how many 8s do we have in 71. How many 8s do we have in 71? And that is 8. Remember what? Because 8 times 8 is 64, right? And so how much will that remain? 64. So you have a remainder 7. So you divide again by that same number, 8. How many 8 can we see in 8? That's 1, remainder 0. So divide again by 8. So 8 in 1, that's impossible. So that's 0, remainder 1. And at this point, we want to check if we are truly correct. So what is 8 times 0? That's 0. Then plus 1, that's 1. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 0, that's 8. And 8 times 8, 64, plus 7, 71. So what you have right now is correct, and then you go this way from the bottom to the top. Let's write 107 base 8. So this is the final result. 107 base 8 is the final result, and let's go check which option is correct. 107 base 8. And you would agree with me that option B is very much correct. Thank you.